She showed up at 5 a.m., with movers demanding my inherited lake house, but she wasn't ready for what came next. I had been at the lake house for 11 days when my sister decided she wanted it. The property had been in our family for 30 years. A 3-bedroom house on the edge of Lake Callaway with a wraparound porch, a private dock, and the kind of stillness at dawn that makes you understand why people spend their lives chasing quiet. My father built most of it himself and spent every summer there until he couldn't anymore. When he died last spring, he left a will that was detailed, deliberate, and unambiguous. Renee got the rental properties, 3 of them, fully tenanted, generating consistent income. She also received the larger portion of his savings and his investment portfolio. My father structured it carefully because Renee had 2 kids and a mortgage, and he wanted her stable. I got the lake house and a modest sum for maintenance. I had signed every document, transferred the deed into my name, and driven up 2 weeks after the funeral because I needed somewhere quiet to grieve. I was on my 3rd coffee watching the sun rise over the water when my phone rang at 5:14. It was Marcus, the caretaker who had worked for my father for 12 years. His voice was careful in the way voices get when someone is trying to stay professional inside an uncomfortable situation. He told me my sister had arrived at the front gate with 2 moving trucks and 3 men she'd introduced as her movers. When he said he needed to call me first, she told him that wouldn't be necessary because she owned the property and I was the one who would be leaving. I told Marcus to open the gate. I heard him pause. "You sure?" he said. I told him I was sure. Then I topped off my coffee and sat down at the kitchen table facing the front door. Renee came through it 4 minutes later looking flushed and rehearsed. She stopped when she saw me sitting calmly. She said the lake house was family property and it wasn't right for one person to hold it exclusively. She said Dad would have wanted the family to share it. She said her children deserved the same memories we had. I let her finish. Then I slid the folder across the table. She looked at it without touching it. I told her it contained the deed, the transfer of ownership, and a copy of the will with the relevant sections highlighted. She already knew what was in it. I could tell from the way her eyes moved across the folder without surprise. She had known before she loaded those trucks. She pushed the folder back without opening it. She said legal documents didn't change what was right, that our father hadn't been thinking clearly in his final months, that a piece of paper didn't erase 30 years of family history. I asked if she was done. She told her movers to start bringing things in. I called the police, not frantically, the same way you'd report a noise complaint. I gave my name, the address, and told them I had someone on my private deeded property refusing to leave. I read the deed number out loud while Renee stood across the kitchen watching me. Her expression shifted when I read that number. 2 officers arrived within 20 minutes. I met them at the door with the folder open to the correct page. They reviewed it and walked over to Renee. I watched her face move through argument, then negotiation, then something resembling disbelief even though she had known the whole time. Then came the tantrum. She raised her voice the way she had since we were children, told the officers this was a family matter and the law had no place in it, said I was selfish and vindictive and our father would be ashamed of me, said no deed was going to change 30 years of history. One officer told her calmly that the deed did in fact change it, legally speaking, and that she had 2 options. She left without a single box unpacked. She didn't look at me on the way out. I walked back to the porch with what remained of my coffee. The morning was still pink along the tree line. A heron stood at the edge of the dock, patient and unbothered. Renee called 4 times that afternoon. I let every call ring out. She sent a long message that evening about family loyalty and shared history. I read it once, then put my phone face down on the railing and watched the last light go out over the lake. My father knew exactly what he was doing when he left me this place. He also knew Renee. He'd known her a lot longer than she ever realized.